Hi friends, and welcome to my Paladin PvE guide. In this video, I'm going to showcase my Chaos Dungeon build, my raid build, as well as go over the engravings and also stat allocations. This is also going to be a support build, not a DPS build. It's an absolutely fantastic class for all content. Visually, I think it's absolutely stunning, but let's just get into the Chaos Dungeon build. So going over the skills, first off, remember the names might change for EU and NA launch, so I'll go over in order of the skills I have here. So starting with my Q, I've Dagger Lunge. We take Outstanding Mobility here, and if you have more skill points free, then you want to go Amulet for the shield, but it's just a simple mobility skill to be able to dodge mechanics, nothing more there. Shattering Steel is our next one, taking Quickly Prepare, Sieve, and Steel Fan. This is just, again, more damage and to build up some gauge. It's not a particularly hard-hitting skill, but it does allow you to build up enemies and also break down the Chaos Stones quite quickly. On our E, we have Wide Attack. This one we take Destructive Fist to be able to pull opponents in, Conqueror for more damage, and Thunder Whirlwind. This then sends out Lightning Bolts and also increases the duration, so you spin more. You see this lightning here. Nice skill, draws enemies in, good for AoEs. It doesn't do huge damage, but is still a really nice skill. Next up, we have Sword of Justice. This one I like to take Magic Trail, so it leaves a damage area on the floor. Find Weakness, so you can kill the bosses and the elites faster. And Concentrated Energy, just for more damage. So by itself, the skill doesn't do much, it's just a little lunge. But when you do hit some enemies, that's when the skill shines. Not only does it extend the reach of it, but that's when it leaves that Magic Trail. And this is also one of your hardest hitting skills and great for killing the elites and bosses. Next up on our A, we have Wave of Light. Wave of Light is a fantastic AoE skill. We're going to be taking Merciless Radiance, Special Bullet, and then Stinging Flashes. The Stinging Flashes is the most important here, so make sure to get 10 points into this skill. This changes it so that the skill pulls enemies in, and this does a lot of damage. It also staggers them when they're on the way in. So again, if I summon a bunch of enemies here, you'll be able to see when I use this, it'll stagger them, pull them into the middle, and then the last hit is a huge nuke. Loads of damage, very effective in Chaos Dungeons. On our S, we are taking our biggest nuke skill. This is Guardian Angel. Inexhaustible Faith, you want to take for more gauge generation. Just Cause gives you a damage boost, and then Heavenly Requiem here, this increases the AoE. So absolutely fantastic nuke skill, tons of damage. This is what you're going to do, run around all the mobs and gather them all into the middle, and then use it, and it just nukes them down. So between Guardian Angel, Wave of Light, and Wide Attack that we've seen so far, these are fantastic AoEs. For anyone who might be worried about Paladin and how well it does in Chaos Dungeons, it's absolutely fantastic with these. The next one as well, another AoE we have is Hand of Heaven. This one we're taking High Voltage, Powerful Lightning, and Guardian of Light. Again, if I summon some enemies here, another nice AoE, and also CCs. So if I summon some normal enemies and a named enemy, here you'll see when I use it, Powerful Lightning, it CCs them. This makes it really easy in Chaos Dungeons when you have the elites grouped up to land your ult, for example. So a really powerful skill with good damage and a good AoE and a good bit of CC. The last skill I choose to take is Shield of Faith. You don't have to take this one, but I think it's really efficient to take it. You could, for example, take Harsh Retribution and go 2-2-1, so that when you attack, it's got this really big cleave. Really quite nice in Chaos Dungeons. It's a nice AoE, as you've seen. However, if you want to save silver potentially over the long run, then this is why I like to take Shield of Faith. You already have a good bit of AoEs around your other skills, but over the long term, you won't have to use your potions. So if you're worried about silver, then this is a really good skill to be able to just have to save yourself pots, which over the long run is going to save your resources. It might take you a couple seconds longer to finish a Chaos Dungeon, but I still prefer to have it for overall long-term efficiency. And with this one, we've gone fast movement speed, and I've gone long-lasting protection. You could put the enhanced protection on if you want a bigger shield. This is up to you. I like to have the long lasting, and if you do have some more skill points, then pop it up and get the miraculous healing as well, so you can heal yourself through, but just bear in mind it does increase the cooldown by 10 seconds. The ultimate, I like to take Lieutenant's Court. Not only does it have a humongous AoE, loads of damage, it gives you a really big shield as well to make it really efficient in your Chaos dungeons, but also if you summon some enemies in here, you'll see how much gauge it gives you. When you hit them, you can pretty much fill up your gauge completely in one go, allowing you to be able to use your Blessed Aura to get heals if you have the right engraving set, for example, and I'll go over those in a moment. And if you're interested in the full build, I'll bring that up on screen for you now. But yeah, it's a very good class for clearing Chaos dungeons, and also very efficient with this build because you don't use any pots. For our raid build, we're starting off with our Q. Again, we have Dagger Lunge for mobility, and you take outstanding mobility. If you have 3 skill points, to take Amulet for a shield when you dash. You're just using this to dodge mechanics with your spacebar as well. On our W, we're taking Unbearable Radiance. You want to go Striking Factor or the attack speed, so extra range or attack speed. Stigma, this is the main reason for taking this. It's a 10% more damage from you and your allies, so a really strong debuff there. And then Mighty Wave for extra damage, but this isn't essential depending on how many skill points you have. So nice skill, good range, and a constant debuff. You want to be spamming this as much as you can on the bosses for that Stigma proc. On our E, we have Ruffian's Word. I take Protective Barrier for the shield when you use the skill. I like to use Effective Area to get as many teammates in as you can for the protection that it offers. However, you can take Stigma. Just bear in mind that it doesn't stack with the Stigma from Unbearable Radiance, but it is a 12-second debuff instead of a 6-second debuff. And then Blessing, this is the main reason for taking this skill. It is a 70% less damage buff that refreshes every second that you're stood in it. So really strong damage reduction. 70% is massive. You can cast this on yourself if you need to as a panic button. You can also cast it at really good range to help your teammates if they're in trouble, so they take less damage. And you can also stack it with Holy Land that I'll get to in a moment. On our R, we have Sword of Justice. Again, one of your highest hitting skills, and it's really good impairment as well as being a counterattack. So you definitely want to make sure you take this. I like to go Unlearn Movement for the extra attack speed. Path of Light, so you always have the range on it, and Concentrated Energy for more damage. So because we have Path of Light, you always get this extra range when you use the skill. So you can get counterattacks from really far away. Very strong skill indeed. You also want to be saving the skill for any impairment checks, which in EU NA version is called stagger checks, that you might have during bosses. On our A, we take Holy Land. Quickly prepare to reduce the cooldown. A Blessing so that it's a 25% damage reduction buff that refreshes every second, just like Ruffian's Word. And then Favor here to be able to increase your faith regeneration and also the AoE size. So you can pop this down again from good range, and it's 25% damage reduction. You can see here it keeps stacking every second. And then Ruffian's Word, when you're holding this one down, it's the same thing, right? So you can actually put them both on. If you look above my health there, we have the 2 debuffs. So that's a huge damage reduction if you actually put both of these on. The boss is doing a big mechanic. You can save you and your team a lot of damage. On our S, we have Guardian Angel. Inexhaustible Faith to gain more gauge. Just Cause, this is really strong. A 24-meter radius buff to you and your teammates. A 15% attack power increase. And then Heavenly Requiem for increased attack radius and extra damage. If you find that you or your team are running out of mana, then you can take Quickly Prepare, which actually increases your mana regeneration for you and your squad. So that's up to you there. Otherwise, you can take Heavenly Requiem for increase AoE. But this is something that you want to space out from Guardian Angel, and the next skill I'll go over, Hand of Heaven. The buff that you get from this doesn't stack together with the same buff you have from Hand of Heaven, so spacing them out is really strong. So going over to Hand of Heaven, we have High Voltage for extra range, Inexhaustible Faith to be able to fill up your gauge again, and the same buff here. So spreading them out, waiting for the debuff to go, and then using the next one, you can give your team this amazing 15% attack damage buff. And then our last one, the skill that your teammates are going to be crying out for, is your Shield of Faith, and that's because of the healing it gives. So fast move to increase the movement speed of you and your team. I like to take the Cleanse, so you could take off a burning debuff from when you're fighting something like Clown, for example. And then Miraculous Healing. This increases the cooldown of the skill by 10 seconds, but when the shield disappears, it gives you and your teammates an 8% of your max health heal. So this is the skill that all your teammates are going to be shouting out for. For our ultimate, again, we're taking Luteran's Court. This is because of the shield that it gives for you and your teammates is far too good to miss up. Also, the fact that when you hit an enemy, it pretty much fills up your faith bar. That's depending on how much speciality you have. And then you always want to be using your Blessed Aura. Don't use your Warrior of Light in raids. Always use your Blessed Aura. And with the engravings that we're going to go over in a moment, this will be one of your main heals. A skill that's worth mentioning as well is Harsh Retribution. This skill, you could, for example, take Purify, Special Bullet, and either of the two there, something like Triple Attack. You can replace this skill with something like Holy Land, but this skill, depending on what patch we get, actually is another counter, so you can have 2 on, and if you're looking for more damage, then it's a really nice looking skill with a good range and can add to your team. And for the full build, I'll bring it all up on screen for you now. Moving to engravings, for your class engraving, you want to focus on Healing Faith. You want to get this to level 3 as a priority, but if you don't have this class engraving at all, your Blessed Aura doesn't even heal. Awakening engraving is a no-brainer, seeing as the shield that it gives you and your teammates is absolutely huge, and the fact that it fills up your gauge really quickly is so strong. So at level 3, this reduces the cooldown of your awakening by 50% and increases the amount of uses. Next up, we have Specialist. This is a new engraving and is very strong. It buffs your heals and your shields, and then if the target is under 50% health, it has even more effect. Spirit Absorption is a really good utility one, increases your movement speed and your attack speed, which increases your cast speed, so it makes your whole class feel way less clunky and really smooth. 2 other honorable mentions is Heavy Armor, which increases your defense, and then Mass Defensor. This increases the amount you generate your gauge from your blue skills, so if you were to use this, then put on an extra blue skill, because yes, you can have both class engravings on and they work. Over these 2, I wouldn't say is a priority, and even having them at level 1 is decently effective, so you can cheap out a bit there. And here's an example of a build at tier 3. Yes, you can push this up to 5-3 instead of having 4 at level 3 and the heavy armor level 1. You could then put Mass Defensor at level 1 on top of that as well to really push and optimize, but for a support, this is still going to be super effective. So a little bit of flexibility, but I honestly recommend having Awakening, Healing Faith, and Specialist, and then you're good to go. Your stat points, you want to go Speciality and Agility, and there's some flexibility here for which you should have more of, or if you go even with it, and that's up to you if you want a faster character with lower cooldowns to spam your shield a bit more, for example, or if you want more Speciality to increase your gauge regeneration. And just remember as well that the names of these will be different on EU and NA version. For example, Agility is called Swiftness, but you can either memorize the positions they are because that hasn't changed, or just hover your mouse over them and read what they do. So if you like the video, give it a like and consider subscribing. And if you have any more questions, you can reach me live on Twitch at twitch.tv/BenleyGamingTV. A link for that will be down below, as well as our link for the community Discord with over 1,400 members now. It's full focused Lost Ark with loads of useful tips and guides, as well as lots of very friendly and helpful people. If you enjoyed the format of this video, then let me know down below, or any changes you'd like to see for upcoming videos, or if you're just thinking of playing this class, let me know that too. And until the next one, guys, I hope you at least learned something, and I also hope you have a very nice day. See you now.